Welcome back to this episode of the Warroom podcast presented by the Sideline Journal. I'm your host, Mason Rather, and joining me today is not Brandon McManus, but Liam Carr.
Mason, man, I know we're gonna start off with that game. The, a tie? Are you kidding me? A tie? We'll get into it later.
I cannot believe it, Ty. I mean, if y'all didn't catch the take that we uploaded today, I think not only we're hot, America's hot, ties don't belong in NFL football, but we're going to break that down. We're going to look at some of the injuries and special teams issues plaguing the league right now, looking at some of the games like the Buccaneers, Eagles, who's the MVP as of now, where the Ravens maybe are at after that disastrous loss with the Chiefs, and some of what's coming down the pipe. We got all this and more in this latest episode of the War Room because it is officially open.
This is the War Room presented by the Sideline Journal, where the film doesn't lie. Let's get to work.
Starting off, Packers-Cowboys. For y'all that don't know, I'm a diehard Cowboys fan, and Liam is a diehard Packers fan. So this game, we were both looking forward to. It was really exciting to watch. I felt terrible going into it, thinking there's no way it's even going to be a game. Our starting tackles, starting guards, starting centers down. They've got Rashawn Gary and Micah Parsons dialed up. They're playing like the best defense in the nation, or best defense in the league. Jordan Love has always looked like prime Aaron Rodgers against this Cowboys defense. And then we were treated to one of the greatest games that I've watched in a while. I mean, we've had some really great games Sunday Night Football. I mean, it was back and forth, back and forth. You never knew which team was going to make the dumb mistake next, whether Cowboys were going to cut loose to open wide receivers down the field, or the first round pick for the Packers was going to decide to do a spin move and get murdered off a special teams play. You never knew it was going to happen. Liam, what did you take away from this game?
Hey, just real quick, I just want to say I'm thankful that we had football from 8:30 a.m. to about 11 o'clock p.m. Central Time. Let's give our thanks for that. That was fun. But that game, I don't know where to start, man. My biggest pet peeve was probably I don't know. I had a good feeling going into that game. We've never lost to AT&T. I know that you probably hate hearing that, and we still technically haven't lost to AT&T.
Still technically.
But Love has two good games there. He looked great. Dak looked great. I'll give props to him. George Pickens really stepped up. That was a great role for him, and he really proved it. Came through. And I don't know where to start for me being so mad because our defensive line, which is supposed to be incredible, did nothing. I mean, Mike, if you look at the stat sheet, it'll say Mike Parsons got a sack. That was, I would call that a tackle for a loss. That was not a sack. I mean, Dak was right there. Dak was 0.2 yards away from it being just a tackle. All right. It saved us. It was a game-winning touchdown save for Micah, but our defensive line was non-existent. Our defensive backs gave little effort. Linebackers weren't bad. Isaiah McDuffie and Quay Walker were pretty good. But special teams was just awful. Special teams can really ruin it, all right? Because we know about this. I want to say 2008 San Diego Chargers had the number one offense and the number one defense, went 8-8 and missed the playoffs. How does that happen? Well, their special teams was so bad. They were giving up so many yards. They were making so many mistakes. Teams would stay in it and barely beat them. And so special teams can really ruin. So for me, when we have this word bad of a special teams base, I'm almost done. When we have such bad of a special teams, it just makes me so frustrated because it's such a little part of the game that can ruin most of it. And in my opinion, these are both two good teams, and I think we definitely should have won, and you may think different, but I just think our special teams really cost that game.
Yeah, I mean, the average field tilt for the Cowboys was like the minus 38, and Devontae Turpin had like 160 return yards, and I mean, that
Your last kickoff return in regulation was like 50 yards, and then your overtime kick return was like 40.
Yep. I mean, that's 90 yards of 160 right there for Devontae Turpin. I mean, and that's the deal. I mean, say what you want about the Cowboys. They might have the worst defense in the league, without a doubt.
They
But
do.
we have the best kicker in the league. And Devontae Turpin is one of the. I'm not going to say he's the best returner, but he's one of the best returners.
He's
And
best.
we'll get back to the game here. I'll open this conversation a little bit about special teams. Is kind of what we're talking about. 2025 is the return of special teams in football. A lot of people have not really looked at the special teams rules because it's boring, what's been changed, and what goes into it. Well, combined with the NFL limiting the amount of practice time you get, combined with all these brand new rules, well, kickoff and kickoff return used to be a ceremonial opening where most people would make a touchback. So if you're a special teams coordinator and you've got 18 one-hour practices where you can't even pad up on what you're allowed to do, what are you going to focus on in the NFL? You're going to focus on the brand new stuff where you've got a landing zone, you got a targeting zone, you've got a different way to block, different rules, different ways a returner can catch it. And what's going to lack? You're going to stop focusing as much on punt return, bunt block, field goal block, and everything in that realm. So through week 4 of this season, it's the most blocked kicks this century. There's also the average field tilt for every team is the most ever. And so because of this, with what's happening with special teams, teams that make mental errors and mental mistakes in the most important parts of the game, it's just highlighting it even more. Because I look at the Raiders, they lost a game because of special teams. I think the Packers didn't win this game because of special teams. You go back the other week, or Thursday, with Arizona and the Seahawks, they couldn't kick it in the landing zone, so Arizona lost that game. And you can go week by week, and there's people losing games because of special teams. And so I think for this game, the Packers and the Cowboys, we were dead in the water to start the game. The Cowboys were. We were down 13-0. We had gone 3 and out twice. The Packers had
13-0, and then you blocked the extra point, returned it for 2, then it was 13-2.
Exactly. And that was the only reason the game ended up in a tie, is because of special teams.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I took away from the special teams from this game, Liam.
Yeah, just if we want to hit on this just a couple more times and then go back to about maybe the game. And, George Pickens was fantastic. Javonte Williams, not bad. The O-line, whatever. But for special teams, I mean, let's look at week 1. Week 1 had, the largest increase because over the past few years of kicks returned. Because, 4 years ago, it was 11%, maybe even less. And it was 17 and then 22. And then over this offseason, there was that rule change. And I think week 1 had 75% of the kicks were returned, that's awesome. I want that to be part of the game. It's very important. And so I'm fine with it. And then week 2 was the week of the kickers, right? That was when we had all those kickers hitting those nasty 50-yard, 60-yard kicks to win games or, to ice them or to whatever. Week 3 was the game of special teams again when we had Packers-Browns, Eagles-Rams. There's one more. There's one more blocked field goal of that week. And it all happened. Bam, bam, bam. And so week 4, again, a little bit of special teams in a lot of those games came down to the wire. So this is just something you got to practice on. I can't believe we're having these problems with the blocked kicks or, kickers seem automatic this year if you just give them.
So I can tell you why with kickers, because, again, I'm a sicko. I read the league meeting notes. I read the competition rule committee notes and the rules that change. So there are K-balls in the NFL. There are specific kicker balls that are only used for kickers. Well, they are allowed to have a special brush applied to them that has to do with the way it bounces off the foot, gets the maximum pop, air distance, whatever, all the nerdy stuff. Until this year, they were only allowed to be brushed the day of the game, 2 hours before kickoff. In the rule committee, it lets them do it the week before. So these special teams coordinators, they will tell you it is so important the type of football that's being kicked. They will call a timeout or spike it to make sure they kick with a K-ball. And to me, that little deal, that little change is why you're seeing the increase the 50 and 60-yard field goal, because they're getting the optimum lift on the kick from their foot. And you combine that with Brandon Aubrey, a former soccer player, and you get automatic 60-yard field goals.
Yeah, I mean, special teams super important, and I'm really mad. I want to finish this with the Packers because I want to get this rant out. Rich, whatever his name is, Richie, our special teams coordinator, he's one of the highest in the NFL. Should have left him in Dallas. That guy's a bum. That guy's a. I can't stand him. He's supposed to help us out, but he hasn't yet. I don't know what we're doing because we can't. What are we doing during practice when we're trying to tackle the kick return? Because that's been a problem all season. We can't really return kicks. It's not bad. We got to use Savion Williams more. But anyways, for punt returns, I've had enough with Matthew Golden being back there for the punt return. I mean, you know what, Mason, you want to know what I said when we drafted him in the first round in Green Bay?
What'd you say?
I said, I can't wait for him to be returning punts. No, Nobody did. No Packer fan looked at him and said, "Oh yeah, he's gonna be a good punt returner. He's a first-round draft pick wide receiver." Which first-round draft pick wide receivers are around the league returning punts? All right, we got plenty of wide receivers on the roster. Use a fourth-string cornerback or a fourth-string wide receiver to return those punts. Why are we using Matthew Golden? All right, and then guess what? Richie, the is so bad. You know what he did after that? He was like, "Oh yeah, Matthew Golden just got killed that play. Let's put Romeo Doubs, who scored 2 touchdowns. Let's put him and make him punt return." What are we doing? And then you decide to not let us practice enough to block kicks. It's happened twice. It's happened actually 3 times in the past 5 games. Yeah, 5 games we've gotten a kick blocked. Is it really that difficult? I mean, I went most of my life watching Packers, not seeing a kick ever get blocked. And 3 times in the past 5 games, I've seen 3. I'm so mad. Richie, get out of here. Matt LaFleur, you're a bum. I'll talk about maybe you later. Maybe say that for another date. But you're next, Matt LaFleur. Ed Policy said there's no guarantees on who will be back next year. He's talking about Matthew LaFleur and his conservative play calling of not to lose when we want to win. So, anyways, Mason, George Pickens, how was his night?
George Pickens, so everyone has always said with the Cowboys that they never make any offseason moves, they never sign any free agents, they never do anything. In this offseason, we did some crazy stuff. We traded a franchise defensive lineman for first-round picks and a nose tackle that's playing pretty well. But the under-the-radar move that I made a video about saying it was going to be a very big deal and no one seemed to care about, we traded for George Pickens for a third-round pick. And Dak Prescott, in all of his elite years in 2023, 2016, 2019, and now this year, his best year yet, 2025, he has had his number one wideout and then a crazy elite vertical X receiver. His rookie season, his number one wideout was an old Jason Witten, but his true X was an old Dez Bryant. Then you get to 2019, and his true X was Michael Gallup. His number one was Amari Cooper. 2023, he had Brandon Cooks. Now in 2025, he has the best X receiver he's ever had in George Pickens, because George Pickens is 6'3", 205, has the ability to separate when needed, is probably the best contested catcher in the league, and most of his yards were yards after catch. It was rack. He found the way to find the soft spot in that zone. He would make a corner. I mean, they put Keyshawn Nix on him all night, and he's what, like 5'10", 190? He's not tackling that dude. And it made me a little more excited with CD out that we might be able to survive. But what I noticed the most is Dak Prescott is one of like 3 quarterbacks in the league that still plays quarterback. Because we used to, in the 2010s growing up, we would watch true field generals go up to the line. Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Tom Brady. You'd hear alert, alert, check. They would go from under center to the gun. You could literally watch them pointing at the defense and checking the play. Dak Prescott might be the only quarterback out there still doing that. And you could say what you want about Dak and the Cowboys. He is playing at an incredible level, like levels that I have never seen him play at. And I've been watching him for about 10 years now. And that makes me feel pretty incredible about what we were able to accomplish. But the downside of that, Liam, is we might have the worst defense in football.
Yeah, that's true. I just want to talk about Dak Prescott right there. I'm glad you brought that up because I've been seeing stuff about that too. Like I saw a clip of, we used to watch Gods play. It's a nice little trend right now on the football Twitter. And so it was a video of Tom Brady. It was like first quarter, not a playoff game. It was a regular game, first quarter. It was like 2nd and 3. And you see Tom Brady stand there, look at the defense. Gronk, move in, move out. Hey, we're gonna go hammerhead, something like that. Inside, a little more tight, and then he does like a motion, and like he makes this play out of thin air, and that was just a 2nd and 3 to get a first down, right? Yeah. All that movement because he could read the defense, he knew exactly where it'd be open, and it was true. And Dak Prescott, I'm glad you brought that up because, I saw that like 5 times out of Dak Prescott last night. If we had the all-22 film, we probably could have seen maybe a couple more, but there's 5 times on air I saw Dak Prescott in primetime moments. He would sit back. He called the play. He'd sit back a little bit. I saw him looking. They had a good angle of him looking. And then he starts, like, changing up the play. And I was like, Dak's changing up the play. And what is he going to do? And he gets, like, George Pickens for a nice little out route. And then our idiot Corey Valentine was out there.
That's who it was.
and gets Keyshawn Nixon let up a couple too, but Valentine gets murdered by George Pickens on a little hezzy back to the sideline, come in, and then man, no, Dak Prescott. Mason, I'm a Cowboys hater and I'm a Dak hater. Sorry, but I will admit that last night, a few times, Dak Prescott was an incredible field general out there. It was. Now I look back at it, I'm glad I saw that because look, I think we're getting a little off topic here. I'll go back to the defense in a second, or if you want to rebuttal this, that's fine. But I think a lot of these NFL quarterbacks and especially college, whenever they do that pre-snap movement, that's all just part of the play. And to me, it's like not as fun as seeing somebody like Dak last night go out and switch around. This is the play, but we're going to switch this guy out a little more. We're going to bring this guy in. We're going to actually move this guy's route from whatever to that. So, good for him doing that. Because nowadays, when I see I think somebody like Michael Penix Jr. or Kyler Murray or even like Sam Darnold, when they do these pre-snap motion stuff, that's all just part of it, and we miss seeing God's play like Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady.
Well,
But
my quick rebuttal to that is just talking about Dak Prescott. And this is a little football scheming. I'm sorry if it's boring, but he is him and Aaron Rodgers are the only two quarterbacks in the league that you'll ever see under center take a true West Coast drop back straight out of the 1980s. Dak is the only one doing that, and it's so dangerous because we run so much off tackle under center with our fullback and running back in there. It serves as play action without play action. It's so rhythmic. It's based off of timing. He can alert that out route to George Pickens. That's how it's so wide, butt naked open. And what traps young quarterbacks in the league is they are prisoners of the scheme that they're in and what they know. They have to produce so quick, so fast. They get young OCs that only know the offense that they ran in college or only offensive systems that have been ran in the past 10 years. So you go look at what's happening with Atlanta. He solely operates Michael Penix out of the pistol. Kyler Murray solely operates out of the pistol. When you're out of the pistol, your play action game, your run game, it's limited in what you can actually do. It doesn't allow for the variation, and that's what makes the Cowboys offense so lethal, is it is such a mix of old school and new school. Because say what you want about Schottenheimer, his dad Marty won a lot of football games in this league as a father of a lot of offenses, and so he knows a lot of old football and a lot of new football, and I think it's paying dividends. Switching over to the Cowboys no, you go ahead real quick.
I was going to say Schottenheimer cooked Cowboys defense.
Switching over to the Cowboys defense, I mean, you could watch that game and see that we're missing Micah Parsons, without a doubt. Donovan Ezeraku is getting pancaked by the backup tight end for the Packers, Luke Musgrave. And our defense can't cover anything. And I know I've been saying a lot about how bad our secondary is, and it is very bad. Our two of our starting corners, Trayvon Diggs and Kyer Elam, are allowing passer ratings north of 130, and you're not going to win football games that way. But we're trapped in zone match coverage because we cannot rush the passer with 4, 5, or even 6 dudes. We have the lower pressure rate in the league. We've given the most plays over 15 yards, the most explosive plays, and say what you want about Matt Eberflus. A lot of people are saying the scheme's bad. He's limited by his personnel. Kenneth Murray, Jack Sanborn, worst linebackers in football. They're both graded bottom 10 in PFF. Kyer Elam, Trayvon Diggs, both graded bottom 10 in PFF. The only redeemable players on our defense is Osa Digizua, Kenny Clark, and Deron Bland. That's all I gotta say.
That's kind of harsh, man. That's kind of harsh.
How'd you feel about Micah Parsons' return to AT&T?
So underwhelming. I think it held a couple times, but I'm not complaining about that. Holding happens all the time. I was more mad at Micah Parsons did what we wanted to do, right? We wanted to draw the double team and a chip block, which happened many times on dropbacks last night. But how come our other guys, our all-pro Rashawn Gary, didn't get any, damage? Lucas Van Ness was pretty non-existent. He had a couple pressures. I'm really liking when we line up Lucas Van Ness. We drafted him as a project edge rusher, trying to mold him into be somebody big. And he just hasn't worked out. And then we get Micah Parsons, and we're wondering what we're going to do with Lucas Van Ness out of Iowa. And when we put him on the inside, but still in that B, even C gap, I'm kind of liking it. it looks really good when he's on the like guard and he's just bull rushing them. I want to see more of that. And then our nose tackle underneath Kenny Clark, Wyatt went out with a little injury. But next man up, and we just had no pressure on Dak, which I was so bummed about because I was so excited about our D line this year after that Micah Parsons trade. I was like, I thought our D line was actually pretty underrated before, but now Micah, now these guys will be way better because he's drawing those double teams, non-existent against a team that's down how many linemen? Is it just Tyler? Is it just Booker?
And Tyler Guyton and Cooper Beebe. We're starting Brock Hoffman, Nathan
They were
Thomas, and TJ Bass in the Big
they were down
2025.
3 good starting linemen, and we have, Micah Parsons, Rashawn Gary, Lucas Van Ness, and a really good up and coming Davion Wyatt. And we couldn't create any movement on that O line. It really bummed me out. It was such a bummer because we don't have a defense. You know how like first 2 weeks were so good because we were getting great pressure on Jared Goff, moving him out of the pocket, and then Jaden Daniels, we were so good at keeping him in the pocket, doing his zone with the QB spy to where that really hurt him. But then last week and now this week, we've barely put any pressure on a 41-year-old Joe Flacco with the Browns, and then we didn't do anything to Dak with 2 starting linemen. It was just so annoying. And then Javonte Williams was looking like Le'Veon Bell back there. He could sit back there and wait for the holes to open up. It made me so mad.
So I mean, kind of what we're taking away from this game is there's some major issues, major holes on both sides of these teams. I could say for the Cowboys, I do not think that in any way, shape, or form we can kid ourselves to be a Super Bowl contender because we have the worst defense in football. I'm going to say for you and the Packers, they've gone for me of Super Bowl contenders to Super Bowl pretenders for a couple of reasons. I don't think that the defense is going to hold up in the big moments, and I think the issue is your head coach, which you mentioned. He gets so caught up in playing not to lose and not playing to win.
I mean, that's facts. I mean, I saw a thing today about it was a graph back in 2020. It was Matt LaFleur with it labeled as aggressive play calling. There was like some data that went behind it about what made aggressive, right? It was like shots downfield on early downs plus something else. It was aggressive play call. Matt LaFleur just 5 short years ago was one of the most aggressive coaches in the league, and in 2020 we almost went to the Super Bowl against Tom Brady's Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but we just had a terrible defense that couldn't compete. But Matt LaFleur now, I mean, just watching these past couple of games, going back to last season, just so conservative. I mean, Jordan Love last year was dealing with that. He almost blew his like MCL, ACL week 1, and so like he wasn't as mobile last year. You didn't know what he could do. He was still kind of slinging it, but this year he's fully healthy except for his thumb, right? Not throwing. And we're still like I thought Love and Dak last night were pretty good, both against like subpar, secondaries, but they were just destroying them, right? They both no turnovers, 3 touchdowns, and both 300 yards.
Yeah.
Something like that. And so Love is dominating the game on the offensive Packers side. He's just sitting there for a second, finding Romeo in the soft part of the zone, or somebody like Tucker Kraft, or even Josh Jacobs had some great catches, which he's not really known for. And so we were doing that, and then we come down to the last second, and we're doing these conservative, I know it wasn't a check down was the plan, but I mean, I just feel like the routes were just they weren't even towards the first down. They were all underneath it. I just can't stand that. And then just running the ball when we're we might be up a little bit. Let's just wind down the clock. No, let's pedal to the floor. Yeah, very frustrating, Mason.
Sounds like very frustrating times, but y'all kind of dropped your take below about what you thought about that game. I mean, do y'all like ties? Do you not? What did you see about the Packers? What did you see about the Cowboys? Were we both just blinded about being fans of these teams? What are you saying? We'd like to hear it. But kind of segueing here to another thing that's kind of plaguing the league is injuries. I mean, just now, live, as we record this on Monday, Tyreek Hill just got carted off the field with a soft tissue injury. And I mean, the injury percentage in the league this season is the highest it's been again this century since the 1990s. And for y'all that don't watch anything from John Gruden on Barstool because he does a lot of college football, he had a really good point that he made when asked about what does he think about the special teams rules, injury rules, all of it. Teams don't practice. The NFL has created such a product of where they want as many games as possible in the most violent physical sport to exist. And in doing so, they have removed the way you can properly prepare for it. I think teams are only allowed 18 practices organized before preseason games start. None of them can be padded. None of them can be longer than 2 hours, or you literally lose your job and get fined. And I mean, just look at the major injuries. Malik Neighbors, torn ACL. Tyreek Hill carted off. I mean, Lamar Jackson has a hamstring injury. Joe Alt, high ankle sprain. I mean, allegedly,
Lamar
but
Jackson.
allegedly with Lamar Jackson. But it's like every week you're just. I mean, Devontae Wyatt for you went down late in the game. I mean, it just seems like every week more and more injuries are piling up. You're seeing more and more field goal blocks, and I just go back to how can we expect these guys to perform when they can't even practice?
Yeah, and as you're saying that, I see just 7 hours ago, late news, but like the Bills punter, he got hit, but lower leg injury. Um, yeah, I mean, um, how many careers have been ruined straight from turf? Like, I'm being serious. It wasn't a bad hit. It wasn't a bad pile up. It was just turf. It was just simple football move. The cleat gets hooked up underneath these, strands of whatever, and their body's not able to move normally, and so that weight, these guys are so powerful. Every tackle is like a car crash going back and forth, and so like all that weight and power moving on that muscle that is a little thin, getting hooked. Grass is grass is what we need to do. Why don't we do that? Every other sport, in Europe, in Mexico that plays on grass, they don't have these bad of injuries constantly. I mean, we're constantly dealing with them ruining careers, teams, GMs, owners, fans. It just really stinks, and not all of it will go away if we go to grass, but I think a good majority. I think Malik Neighbors yesterday plays on grass. He would have been fine.
I would agree
I
because
think
I
that's true.
mean the way that specifically we're going to talk ACLs here, specifically ACL injuries in the knees. There's always been two ways that I have seen as a coach and talked about with athletic training professionals that an ACL tear happens. You're either dehydrated or your body generates enough force that it physically can't handle it, and it has to be like an incredible amount of force in a certain direction. Well, how that force gets amplified, it gets amplified on turf because when you strike turf in the correct wrong way, you're striking basically concrete with a little bit of sand, a little bit of turf pellets, and then synthetic grass. And there's no reason in the NFL the amount of money that it makes. It's the most profitable
There's a
sports
reason.
organization with like $14 billion in the league. I mean, care about your players just a little bit. So I go back to as a kid, the first time I questioned like, what are we doing with this turf? Is when I watched RG3 tear his knee in the most awkward, crazy way ever in a game because he was on turf. And then the same thing with Odell Beckham Jr. in the Super Bowl. His knee practically exploded on turf. And now we go see for the Giants, which was such an exciting day. Jackson Dart looked like he could actually be doing something in the Big Easy, and instead we watch his number one target tear his ACL on turf.
Yeah, that's just incredibly annoying, and I'll tell you why they don't is because grass takes a lot more money to take care of than turf, and it's just so annoying that these multi-million dollar, some billion-dollar organizations can't even, they don't want to. It's not that they can't, it's just that they don't want to, because you know why? It's gonna cut costs for them. It's pretty annoying because these players who could help you out so much to get, like Malik Neighbors is a guy that the Giants, start Jackson Dart. You just took down the 3-0 Chargers, who some were saying Justin Herbert MVP, Quentin Johnston's back, that running back of Morgan Hampton looks good. That was a good Chargers team, and Malik Neighbors, a guy that definitely could have he's one of the best wide receivers I think in the league, and he will be. But I don't know anymore because these injuries, as soon as they happen, they don't come back the same. It's going to take like 2 years for him to get back to what he was, rookie year. So it's just so annoying that they just don't want to do that because they don't want to water and have to take care of the grass. But I like David Bakhtiari. He's incredibly outspoken about the dangers of turf because, he was one of the guys that his career, he might have been a Hall of Famer of a lineman,
Yeah.
but he didn't play like for 3 years because he was dealing with just a tore up knee that he got from playing on a turf field. I think he tore it up in Atlanta when he was playing, in Green Bay on the grass for years. So, yeah, Mason, I mean, it's a bummer to so many people. How much money was down for Malik Neighbors to maybe be like a Triple Crown or Offensive Player of the Year or something, I don't know, related to him. But yeah, these ruin careers, and it's just terrible to see.
It's just terrible to see in the game that we love, but hopefully, just by people continuing to call it out, can you just say something that might have an effect on it? But
Too much other like you were talking about Cam Scadaboo and that guy. We talked over the summer. We were talking about we don't know how much how much that Arizona State play will transfer to the NFL. But I mean, clearly, just him giving everybody CTE will be just fine. I mean, he looked like Superman alone. Like he wasn't even hitting anybody. But it was 2 weeks ago when he was going towards the goal line, put his arm down to he punched the ground to get him just over to the goal line. That was awesome to see. He looks like almost Superman.
yeah, and I mean, I'll kind of depart from what we talked about pre-show, but I mean, I feel pretty great about my evaluation of Jackson Dart. I said that he was a baby Josh Allen going into the league, and that he isn't as physically talented as Josh Allen, but he's a competitor. He can make tight window throws. He can run the football, which is exactly what Dayball wants in his RPO system. And he goes out there and you see the vibes are completely different. Freaking Sexy Dexy is getting an almost pick six, and Scadaboo's toting the rock, and Dart's out there, hitting his signature dance on everybody. And the Giants won a football
That was
game
the
for like the first
that
time
was
in
the
3 months. So
that has to be the biggest upset of the season so far.
I think it's got to be because I mean, going into it, the Chargers looked like the best defense in football. Giants looked like one of the worst offenses in football. You go start a rookie quarterback that everyone told you was going to be a bust and shouldn't have been drafted in the first round, and all he does is go and compete his balls off, lose his number one wide receiver, and win the football game. It was incredible to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like second, you could talk about the Panthers upsetting the Falcons last week, and I'm pretty sure that was a goose egg. Yeah, that was a goose egg game.
Yep.
You thought I just think the Falcons are just so wishy-washy with Michael Penix, and like that offense can be elite, and then we obviously saw last week bottom tier. But so I think we'd have to say that the Giants Chargers game this week definitely was the biggest upset. Do you want to go into this Eagles Bucks game? That was pretty fun.
Yeah, I mean, that game was crazy to watch. I mean, going into it, Jalen Hurts looks like he's the best quarterback in football. He
Yeah, just had a great second half.
only had one
before.
incompletion, and then goes into the second half and doesn't complete a football. And Todd Bowles' defense decides to look like the Super Bowl Bucks defense in 03 and doesn't allow, like, Todd Bowles is such the I'm going to live and die by the blitz. He's going to blitz every time no matter what happens. And what we learned with Jalen Hurts in the second half is he can't read a blitz to save his life. Can't. Vita Vea had 2 sacks, and that dude's 350 and was able to go catch Jalen Hurts because Jalen Hurts gets stuck in the pocket, and he's like, I don't know where to throw, I don't know what to do. So, and I talk about Emeka Egbuka. He shows up every week, makes an incredible play every week. Baker Mayfield always keeps the Bucks in the game. And this is another game for me that goes down to the only reason that the Eagles were able to win it. And say what you want, they're 4-0. One of only them and the Bills are the only teams that are 4-0, and they won it because of special teams. They blocked a punt to start the game and returned it for a touchdown. So I think that game had a lot of good things for both. And I mean, you can look at the Bucks. They lose that game, but they're 3-1. They sit atop of their division by 2 games, and Baker Mayfield is continuing to look like one of the best quarterbacks in football.
Yeah, and here we are hating on Jalen Hurts again, but it is so warranted. It is so warranted.
Yes.
Any other team in the NFL, if their quarterback went 0 for 8 with 0 yards in the second half, they would have lost. All right? So this just tells me that, you keep on saying, well, Jalen Hurts is elite. He can be elite, but if the Eagles are winning without a quarterback, they don't need him. Jalen Hurts can be non-existent in that offense and they can still win against a good. This is not the Panthers or the Saints or the Cardinals or the Jets or the Dolphins. This was the Bucks, definitely playoff contending, Super Bowl maybe. And so for Jalen Hurts to put up a goose egg in the second half, that just tells me everything I know. He is the bar. Look at he did 130 in the first half, 2 touchdowns. Not bad. Zero. Nothing. Um, so yeah, the Eagles just have this just confirms. I think preseason we talked about the Eagles have the best overall, most consistent roster in the NFL, right?
Yeah, I would agree with
One.
that. 100%.
Okay, this just proves it. This just proves it that they can win without a quarterback. And then, yeah, you said Amika, dude. Bucky Irving had that 70-yard reception that made him. If you look at receiving yards, you'll see Bucky and be like, oh, okay. Nah, Amika is just so consistent. He looks like we talked about this last week, and we might talk about it every single week. Tet is the mold of every wide receiver you'd want. He is the guy, but Amika and Baker just seem to be on another level, chemistry-wise. That's incredible to see so quickly. I mean, I don't think we ever seen like a rookie wide receiver with a quarterback get along this quickly.
It's been a while. You'd have to think maybe 2016 Odell Beckham Jr. was the last time one was going
Yeah.
this fast.
Yeah, and so that's just awesome to see. I think I'm gonna have to start doing Bucks or must-watch TV every week, no matter where they are. They're in all those noon slots. I'm gonna have to turn that game on because it's just exciting to watch. A football game like that with Baker. He had that bicep injury. Pre-game, they were talking about, watch out for his velocity on the throw. It might not be as good, and then he just goes out there and balls. He threw a pick. Bad timing was not good, but if we want to talk about Brett Favre, get the good with the bad. It's Baker, so
Yeah, I mean, that Bucks team, you got to be excited about their trajectory because they're still missing pieces. Chris Godwin played his first game in over a year coming off a bad knee injury. He's going to find his form.
ankle.
Mike Evans, yes, ankle. Mike Evans is going to come back from this hamstring injury. You're going to have Mike Evans. You're going to have Chris Godwin, Emeka Egbuka, Sterling Shepard, Bucky Irving, Rashad White. Tristan Wirfs just came back from injury. This offense is going to quickly become one of the most exciting in football. And
Oh yeah.
the Bucks, you just got to like their chances just because the way Baker Mayfield's playing. Baker Mayfield is playing. I'm again going to say it, and it sounds crazy. I first said it with Dak. Baker Mayfield's playing like a top 5 quarterback in football because you want to talk about most valuable to their team. He has kept them afloat through having both their starting tackles down, multiple defensive injuries, their special teams giving up multiple touchdowns, him not having his number one target being a rookie wide receiver and making that wide receiver look like the offensive rookie of the year. And you just look at what the Bucks are doing and you got to be really excited about it. I'm going to touch again quickly on the Eagles. I am old enough to remember in 2023 them coming off of a Super Bowl appearance how they went 11-0 and no one said anything was wrong about the Eagles, and they finished 11-5 and lost the wild card round. And the year they did that, they didn't have a head coach as an OC in Shane Steichen. Now we go to this year, they're fresh off a Super Bowl win with the same crazy talented players, same head coach. They're 4-0, but they have a new OC. I do not see it with the Eagles. I again am going to say that they are a pretender of a Super Bowl contender just because their offense play calling is that bad.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And then hey, this is off topic, but Kellen Moore was just being a bum against the Bills this week and last week. That's just funny to think that the Eagles offensive coordinator, but yeah, Eagles being fraudulent. I mean, I wanted to talk about this last week because I think this kind of coincides with it. But everybody was talking about. We could bring it up this week too. I think that'd be fair. But like the Chiefs, everybody's saying, "Oh, the Chiefs don't look like the Chiefs. What's happening?" They were like they were 1-2, had the possibility of going 1-3, right? People were talking about the offense, but like, let's be realistic here. This isn't looking like the Chiefs. Did they really look like the Chiefs last year when they were barely winning games? Right? They were a shoe size, it's unfortunate that Isaiah Likely is a shoe size, 12 and a half, not a 12, because if he was 12, They would have lost that game. They barely lost to the Raiders on Thanksgiving. Barely lost to the Raiders again throughout the season. You know, they beat the no, the Broncos whooped them. But look, the Chiefs just haven't been very good. Like last year, they went to the Super Bowl. I know. This is a crazy take, but the Chiefs haven't been convincing win for a long time. And so, like even this year, they just beat the Ravens. I know the Ravens. We might talk about that. I don't know, but just the Chiefs. When everybody's saying they don't look like the Chiefs, I'm like, all right, who? The Chiefs from 2021? No, they don't. Don't say they look like the Chiefs from last year. Remember the Chiefs? They went to the Super Bowl. They, I'm gonna say that they barely made it. They were not playing good offense. Their defense is really good, but I think they're like the Eagles right now. Their offense is pretty bad. Even Saquon hasn't even gotten going, and it's just their defense, special teams that's kind of winning the games for them so far.
Yeah,
Crazy take.
if we want to talk, we can flip here and talk about the Chiefs and Ravens a little bit. I mean, say what you want. The Chiefs have been missing Xavier Worthy. He came back, and Mahomes throws 4 touchdowns. Rashee Rice is almost going to be back from the suspension. And, I mean, I think some of their offensive woes are going to get solved just because of the receiving talent returning. And Tyquan Thornton's emerging, too, as
Oh
another
man,
reliable receiving threat. I'm
I
just
thought you
saying.
picked him up on the waiver wire.
I
I was so
did.
mad about that.
And
I had a
he's-
claim on him.
I mean, he's averaging like 13 fantasy points. He's got a touchdown in every game he's played in. So, I mean,
Rashee Rice who? Rashee Rice who?
I don't know. He's about to be back. But, I mean, the Chiefs, say what you want about them. They find ways to win. Andy Reid's is probably the best head coach in football. Patrick Mahomes is still the best quarterback in football. I think that they're slowly rounding into form, and it's going to be either them or the Bills out of the AFC. But I want to talk more about the Ravens out of that game. I mean, 1-3, which was supposed to be the all-in year. You've got supposedly all-pros and Pro Bowlers at every level. You're supposedly at the best quarterback in football in Lamar Jackson, and instead you lose 37-20 with your franchise QB going out with a mysterious leg injury.
Never went to the tent.
Never went to the tent. I mean, what is that about?
Yeah, I mean, the Ravens looked pretty pitiful. The run game was all right. Justice Hill had another good game. Yeah, I just don't understand it because I'm looking at Lamar Jackson's great. I could not imagine if I'm no football guru, but I cannot imagine what the defensive coordinators meetings are like when you're going against the Ravens. Because to me, I mean, it seems simple. You'd say, well, we'll just make him stand in the pocket and throw it. He's good at doing both, honestly. And I think he's not as good as a pocket passer, a true pocket passer, but he's just one of the best athletes in the NFL. And so to have that, a pretty good O-line, a Hall of Famer running back, you have good options at the wide receiver spot. And that defense was supposed to be something great. I was really hyped up on their defense, and they haven't been that great. Mason, I've been in these Raven fan group chats. They're saying blow it up. They said the window's gone.
That's just crazy to me because, I mean, I think the window's still wide open. You've got the best quarterback in football. You've got Zay Flowers, DeAndre Hopkins, Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews, Charlie Kohler. You've got
They're saying blow it up.
Defense. And the only reason I can say they're saying to blow it up is they're sick and tired of John Harbaugh as their head coach.
No, they're saying John Harbaugh. They don't like him. I mean, no Ravens fan probably likes him when they pull up. The graphic just keeps on getting bigger of, the third or fourth quarter losses when they were up 10 plus. I mean, it's just bad every time they find a new one. But yeah, John Harbaugh. But no, they're saying, Lamar Jackson experiment's over. Derrick Henry's about to retire. D-Hop's about to retire. Kyle Hamilton sucks. They're saying the rookies are bums. They just had their defensive lineman. I don't even know how to pronounce his name. But he's out for the season.
Yep.
They're saying, all right, wrap it up. Let's draft a quarterback next year. Let's start rebuilding.
And see, the Ravens, the Eagles, and the Falcons are some of the most emotional fan bases, along with the Dallas Cowboys. I'll throw myself in there as well. Some of the most emotional fan bases after wins and losses. Because it's, if they win, we're the best team, best quarterback going to the Super Bowl. If we lose, oh my God, we're going to blow it up. It's horrible. The Ravens still have a top 5 roster in the NFL. John Harbaugh is still a top 10 head coach in the NFL. He's been the head coach there for so long for a reason. Lamar Jackson has won multiple MVPs for a reason. Todd Monken is an incredible OC. The only thing that scares me with them, and what's causing it for concern of why you're 1-3, is we're in year 2 of the Zach Orr experiment in DC, and he needs to be the scapegoat because Mike McDonald left and went to the Seahawks and has made the Seahawks maybe the best defense in football. And from watching some of the All-22 tape, the problem with the Ravens is you are asking your All-Pro players to play out of position. I've seen multiple corner blitzes, not from the boundary, but from the field, which then makes Kyle Hamilton travel from his deep safety spot all the way over into a deep zone coverage on a number 1 wideout. That's not what Kyle Hamilton's good at. Kyle Hamilton's good at playing in the box, rushing the passer, playing the middle third. He is not good at traveling into the boundary. I'm watching Roquan Smith, instead of being asked to play in the box, he's being asked to play coverage out in the flats. That's not him. He's a box linebacker that plays the run extremely well. And what's not helping is all the interior D lineman injuries. But you've still got some incredible players in Marlon Humphrey, Nate Wiggins, Kyle Hamilton, Roquan Smith. And the fact that they can't even get anything going with the defense is mind-boggling to me. I mean, 40 points to the Bills, 37 to the Chiefs.
Mason, you just got to look at who's in control of this.
I mean, defensively, Zach Orr, but yeah, head coach is John Harbaugh, and he has been there for a very long time. But I don't know. I think the scapegoat's Zach Orr. I don't think it's ready to blow it all up yet. I think that's crazy to say. I think that the Ravens are a victim of a very hard schedule, and they just need to find their footing a little bit, and they'll be okay. But kind of transitioning from that, I know that we had a little bit of a discussion on who the MVP is. It's kind of what we've been doing every week, and last week I made the argument that it was Justin Herbert, and he kind of laid a dud. Through 4 weeks of the NFL season, who is the most valuable player?
Man, I feel terrible tonight. It's just constantly his name is, it's for me it's got to be Baker. But Mason, I'm interested to hear what you have to say. Is this somebody related to you?
I don't know. Could it be the guy that leads the league in passing yards? Could it be the guy that leads the league in EPA for attempt, EPA for play, has the most big-time throws, is carrying the worst defense in the league to not have an 0 for
Valuable.
record?
That's the value.
Could it be that guy that everybody hates, says is the worst quarterback to ever put on the star? Could it be Dak Prescott?
I think that's a very good argument.
I
would maybe throw in Indiana Jones. Yeah. Nah, you go.
I just look at 4 weeks through NFL football and all the teams that are out there. And Josh Allen's also making his case to go back-to-back. I mean, say what you want, the Bills are 4-0, and they're 4-0 because of Josh Allen. Well, everyone's forgetting them because they played like the Saints and the Dolphins on a Thursday night. But don't forget...
Yeah, let's look at the overall... Let's look at the combined records of the teams they've played.
That's probably true because the Ravens, which look like a good
It's like
win
1-13.
That is true. I actually think it is. I think everyone they've played.
Because look at the Ravens now too. It's still an incredible comeback, but
because they played the Jets too, and they're over. So, but yep, say what you want. I think through 4 weeks, I think that right now it's a 3-horse race between Baker Mayfield, Dak Prescott, and Josh Allen, and I think that those three are playing at levels of quarterback that they're head and shoulders above the rest. I think the guy down in Los Angeles, Matthew Stafford's playing extremely good football too. He looks like his 2021 form of playing pitch and catch with his new Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. But I don't know, man. I'm a Cowboys fan, and I can't wait to see the comments telling me I've got my Cowboys blinders on. But through 4 weeks of football, Dak Prescott's looked like the best player. Well, guys, I think that kind of wraps up what we wanted to talk about Week 4 of the NFL season. I mean, we talked about at length the issues with the Packers and the Cowboys. We mentioned a little bit about the special teams and injuries are having an impact on the league. The Ravens, I guess, should blow it up. And Baker Mayfield, Dak Prescott, and Josh Allen are your MVP candidates. But looking ahead to Week 5 coming down the pipe, the most exciting game of the year, we have got the Panthers versus the Dolphins in an absolute toilet bowl.
He dislocated his knee, by the way. That just came out. So.
Gosh, I hate that for Tyreek Hill. But
So yeah, toilet bowl.
week five, man, we got some real barn burners. We get to watch Carson Wentz in London again. We've got Jackson Dart against Spencer Rattler, and I know that's all the
Ooh.
games everybody's wanting to look at right there.
Yeah, we got Commanders, Chargers. That'll be kind of interesting. Two, young offenses going against it. Bucks, Seahawks. I'm excited for that. I think one of the best defenses in the league versus one of the most exciting offenses. That'll be a good one. That's at 3:05. And then the late games. Patriots, Bills. Excited to see Drake May and the Patriots in a Sunday spotlight, and then of course seeing Josh Allen.
Yeah.
And then Monday night. Will be interesting. Did anybody expect the Jaguars to be 3-1?
I didn't.
Not 3-1.
I sure expected. Yeah, they're 3-1. First time since
Alright.
2006.
Yeah, 3-1 versus the Chiefs. Yeah, and so I'm gonna be hating on the Chiefs, rooting for Liam Cohen, Trevor Lawrence, ETN, BTJ. Can he do something, please? But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say probably the game that I'm looking forward to the most is that Thursday night game between the Niners and the Rams. It's another big touchstone game for the crown in the NFC West. So, I mean,
Puka?
Stacks late coming up. Puka Nakua. I mean, will he have another 200-yard receiving game?
I think he's going for like 9,000 receiving yards this year. So
He's on pace for it. So, we'll have all that and more as we enjoy another week of NFL football. Y'all drop your take down below of what you're seeing in the league, what you maybe want to see from us. We're really enjoying doing this. Thanks for riding with us, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Warroom podcast presented by the Sideline Journal. If you haven't yet, click the subscribe button. We just crossed 270 subscribers, and we're slowly getting to 300. We've really appreciated all the support and y'all riding with us. Check out the full playlist over to your right to see the full catalog of Warroom podcasts. We have multiple guests, multiple franchise watchdogs. We've done some player interviews. We've done some divisional previews. You can see our takes that we reference. And anyways, we'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.